Okay, hello everybody. I'm continuing part two. An authoritarian rule under environmentalists would handle the problem better than any egalitarian society that shifts power constantly, as long as it was indefinitely held, right? Which we know traditionally never happens. Authoritarian rule tends to wane over time the way egalitarian rule tends to win over time, right? So, what I'm just saying here is when you think about results, none of these ideologies are really inherently better at solving the problem than any other, anyways. So, I don't know why they get on their, I don't know why they think they're so much better than the rest of us or that they feel so superior, which is ironic, by the way. It almost comes across like they have a supremacist mindset, even though they, claim to be egalitarian, which is funny. It's really funny when they come across like that. The end result of the ideology is the death of billions of human lives, essentially. Uh, Egalitarians rarely admit to the flaws in their own ideology, acting as though it were bulletproof. Yet their blind adherence to this thinking proves otherwise. They look down their nose at the rest of us while driving everyone off a cliff. Aside from their weakness and this, there are other problems afflicting egalitarianism. You can advocate an ideology, but it's more of a guideline for them than anything else. Here's what I mean. Institutions that are created and grow within egalitarian societies always come into conflict with ideas of equality, fairness, and justice. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Until the people who thrive in the sports, military, and business world elevate themselves above other lives, feel entitled to disproportionate privileges due to their own perceived superiority, and destroy the happiness of others. Egalitarians will tolerate the existence of the institutions that produce the supremacists because, in order for them to protect their societies, they need to ensure that theirs is stronger than the others. The stronger a nation is, the less likely another will attack it. Egalitarians will tolerate supremacists within their own country so long as these supremacists protect them from other nations and outside threats. Yet history repeatedly shows us that supremacists always turn their ambitions inwards, conquering those they previously guarded. What I'm saying is notions like the U.S. I'm saying is nations like the U.S. are only egalitarian on a piece of paper. Egalitarians are fine with other nations paying the price for being inferior to their own, just not when the supremacists they nurtured with their tax dollars, consumer spending, and tolerance turn an eye towards them. So I'm going to take a pause because I wanted to add a bit here that I didn't write. You can kind of see how this happens in the real world, right? We've heard stuff about certain government agencies interfering with the elections of other countries. So freedom for us, but not freedom for them, right? Because their interests don't align with the interests of the people who are running things in this country. And that's part of the problem. What do egalitarians do about these individuals within our system who are fucking with other countries and messing with their elections or messing with their leaders? Do you see what I'm getting at? How many of these egalitarians were fighting tooth and nail to stop the people who were butchering and destroying people from other countries? You know why they didn't? Because it wasn't them. The thing about egalitarians that always gets on my nerves is they're perfectly fine with producing the male supremacists on their own soil, and they're also okay with them fucking with letting those people fuck with everybody else around the world. The only time when they fucking complain or start to, really get mad about them is when those people look towards them and go, you look nice. I think you'll make a great dinner meal. So they're okay with the supremacists as long as they're doing what they want them to do. Keeping them safe, sacrificing for them, bleeding for them, dying for them. But the second the supremacists take a look at them and go, you know what, you're weak. I think I'm going to dominate you now. All of a sudden, oh shit. Democracy. You create the monster, and then the monster turns on you. And this is your responsibility. You're the ones that enabled it and let it happen. You do it every generation. You do it with your you do it from non-academic institutions. You do it at certain academic institutions. You also do it at military institutions. And this is the reason why we never have consistency in the human race, because frankly speaking, egalitarians are full of shit. They're perfectly okay with us being superior to other countries. We're not equal to other countries. We maintain our supremacy to other countries because we want to keep the peace in our country. We want peace for ourselves, but peace for everybody else, don't really give a shit, right? Until that violence turns on you. And then so much for your egalitarian society. Maybe you can start to understand why I don't like you, why other people may not like you either. You're not alone in hating us or having problems with us. I don't hate you, but I definitely have problems with the way that you advocate for your ideology or defend your ideology, because your ideology doesn't exist in a vacuum. You're the sum of your actions. Oh, sorry, it's not just you're not just the sum of your actions, but your actions speak a lot about you. Do they reflect your ideology? Egalitarianism, I'm getting back to the reading now. Egalitarianism only works for so long before internal conflict destroys it. When a society loses external enemies to keep their supremacists focused on, the result is new battles and war on home soil. We already saw this on J6, so there's no need to go over this. It's obvious. Egalitarians benefit from the actions of supremacists while condemning their beliefs. The truth is that the social environment you see today depends greatly on several interacting factors. Egalitarians betray their own ideology and sow the seeds of their own destruction. The last thing, the very last problem I want to talk about with egalitarians, is that there's no fixed objectives to be taken that will get them to their destination. In other words, where's point B? We have point A. Where's point B? Also, in my opinion, they will never get there. They want equality, yet also support fiercely competitive environments, which foster those who undermine their goal. They want freedom, yet feel the need to secure it by using competition as a means of growth for their military. People from other countries could take their freedom by force, so they need an equal or greater force in place to deter them. In the end, they always lose their freedom to a foreign force or their own people. Egalitarians want happiness, yet people in other countries are made miserable by our policies and involvement in their affairs. Because Gynarchists have fixed objectives, we can get to where we're heading. It is ignorant when people criticize Gynarchists for what they desire, when egalitarians keep harping on the need for equality and equity, ignoring the elephant in the room that is global warming. Many of their struggles will cease to have meaning in a world where governments have collapsed. They keep acting as if the most important thing is to achieve their vision while being blind to the changes that are coming. The truth is that there isn't enough time to achieve their vision, assuming it's even achievable. Also, we don't need to get to equality in society to achieve a Gynarchic community or a Gynarchic model. This is nonsense and illogical. It's easier to obtain a Gynarchy community than an equal society. How do I know that? Let's get into that, shall we? Ask an African American woman what her idea of equality is. Then I want you to go and ask a white woman what it is. Ask an Asian woman. Ask a woman of every other ethnic group. Now start asking people of different sexes. Ask some men. Then go back and ask some women again. And then talk to people who identify with different genders, right? In other words, people who identify as trans, or people who say they're non-binary or gender fluid or whatever. Do they all agree on what equality should be? In theory, you think they would. Yet, what do we hear about? Some groups want equity because they think equality is not good enough because they don't face equal problems. They're not facing the same level of bullshit. Others feel that there's no such thing. Like we'll never get there. It doesn't exist because it's not in nature or something. People who can't agree on what equality is have a barrier to working with others. Gynarchists all agree that women should be in charge. Where our opinions diverge is on what they should be ruling and how. So is it just a community? Is it a business? Is it a government? And how should women be ruling communities, businesses, government? Like these are the things that divide Gynarchists. We're not divided on what we agree about. Like, right? You talk to some people, you talk to some marginalized people, some minorities who are not white, and they might have a very different idea of what they think equality is compared to a white person. They might have totally different ideas. So if they can't even agree on what equality is, how are they going to work together? They don't even have common ground. Whereas we do. Gynarchists all have common ground. It's just that our opinions diverge when we get into visions and stuff, plans. So we have an agreement that unifies and binds us. It allows for cooperation, healthy dialogue, and tangible action. The barriers and hurdles that feminists face is greater than the ones Gynarchists have to overcome. It's so much worse because you have all these different definitions of what equality ought to be or should be. People have different notions of it, and this just gets this. It just really goes around, reverberates. Blah, 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 blah. We don't have that problem. No, what we have is we have a common vision problem. We have a how to do it problem. Also, our differences aren't deal breakers. If some person wants a state where no man can be a woman's boss, and another individual thinks that we should have a gift economy that has no bosses to begin with, I don't feel any offense or aversion to cooperating with either. Both just have different ideas. The diversity of ideas enriches the Gynarchy community. It does not diminish it. We can cooperate without settling on one unified vision. And I kind of wanted to leave it off on that note. And the reason is because I want to do a video on how I believe pragmatism can really help the Gynarchy community. Like having a pragmatic philosophy can nurture the Gynarchy community in ways that others can't. We can learn from the failures of other movements. We can learn from the failures of people in the past and become a better community. I believe that rather than pushing one particular solution or idea, it's actually a better idea to embrace the diversity of opinions and ideas because it invites more people in and it does a lot of other good stuff, which I'll get into. I'll talk about that video. I'll talk a little bit more about that and why pragmatism, I feel, is the key to a successful, healthy Gynarchy community and to the growth, the continued growth of said community. I hope I've made it clear what I think of egalitarianism. Has it done some good things? Obviously. Does it resolve certain problems? Does it have many benefits? Yes, it does. But is it going to be relevant in a few decades? No. Because in order for egalitarianism to be relevant and a lot of their goals to be relevant, the things that they connect them to, like state governance, federal governance, these have to exist in order for much of the ideology to be relevant. But when you have resource wars, when you have a decline in people's quality of life, when human beings start looking for scapegoats because they don't know how to solve the problem and force and violence isn't working, we don't tend to react rationally in those situations. We have a tendency to do crazy shit like sacrifice people to volcano gods and stuff like that. We'll get worse before we get better. So in those kinds of environments, egalitarianism can't thrive in an environment controlled by fear, violence, and paranoia. That it will not thrive in that environment. And what you can do is you can have a community, you can be part of a community, and you can try your best to live in your world with that community. But egalitarianism, no, it's not gonna get you anywhere. And I would rather help my own people and help build the Gynarchy community rather than dealing with the failed egalitarian project that will end up killing billions. Mostly due to the fact that it's not equipped to handle this. Like I know I'm being repetitive, but it's just the truth. It doesn't matter who you vote for. It doesn't matter which side of the pendulum you swing on. It doesn't matter where you land. The system is not going to be able to handle it. Human beings are collectively living out of balance with Gaia, and Gaia will punish human beings for doing it. The mother planet is currently doing that and will keep doing that until human beings learn their lesson or they're eliminated. And if they don't want to learn, there you go. If they value their present situation over the future of their children and their grandchildren, that's their choice. But I don't have to accept egalitarianism as the default belief system that everyone should subscribe to in every single circumstance, because this particular circumstance that I'm describing is one that egalitarianism has literally no answer for. It will never solve this problem, ever. Community is where it's at for anybody and everybody, but especially for Gynarchists. The sooner you get your community, the better your life is going to be. And probably it'll offer a lot more security than human beings who are still clinging onto these systems, who are just hopelessly enslaved and dependent on the systems that currently exist right now. Systems they have no hope of actually changing or fighting against. This train is going straight off the tracks, and there's nothing any one individual can really do about it. Well wishes, everybody. I hope this explains some things. If everybody's especially to the people wondering, why Gynarchy? Why do you subscribe to a Gynarchist mindset? What's your problem with egalitarianism? Here you go. So, well wishes. I hope everybody has a great day, and please take care of yourselves out there. Good night.